It's the autumn season now, so we're gonna create a super glamorous, super luxe arrangement with this absolutely fabulous silver urn. I want you to think about what vases you have around your home. What ones are your statement vases? And create an arrangement in them for the season. Really be inspired by the vessel and then create the arrangement after that. So we're gonna get into really unique tones for the autumn season as well. We're gonna actually have some fuchsia hints in there. But then we'll also have our traditional antique, more rust color, more yellows, some really rich golden tones that'll complement the silver, but also make the silver vessel sparkle a little bit more. How absolutely incredible are these hydrangeas? This is an antique hydrangea and it's going to complement this silver so well. What we're gonna do is actually create a asymmetrical line arrangement. So a little bit different than your normal traditional big mass round piece that you would traditionally see in a container like this. I like to start out with hydrangea because it's a great base. They're really fluffy, really big, and if you're gonna put this in the entryway in your home, it's just gonna stand out. So with hydrangea, note that hydrangea means hydration. Just think about that. So you need to make sure that it's always in water. I like to recut the stems and then go up diagonally just a little bit on the stem to make sure that it has enough surface area to uptake as much water as possible. And what I did in my particular urn is I soaked floral foam and stacked them up so I had a floral foam lip that's higher than the lip of the container. That allows me to make a bigger arrangement for my entryway. So what I'm gonna do is keep cutting each of these hydrangea down, and any leaves that look a little gnarled, make sure that you just remove those. But I'm starting with my base. I want to start covering up that floral foam. But I'm also going to make this mostly one-sided for all of you. But when you're designing, make sure you keep turning it so that you can make sure that someone can walk around the entire piece and there's no negative space, meaning there's no holes where you can see the floral foam. So I am covering up all of my mechanics right now. And I'm gonna make this one so it's starting to make that diagonal shape. Hello, where'd I go? So now what we're gonna do is add bougainvillea. And here in Arizona, bougainvillea is grown everywhere. It's an evergreen plant, except for when it frosts here in the desert, has a tendency to die back a little bit. But the bougainvillea is just such a beautiful complement with the hydrangea. They're similar because of the bracts that they have. So the colorful portions of the plant that you see are actually the bracts, and the flowers themselves that pollinate are in the center here. So I thought that they'd be a great complement to learn a little bit about the plant. And also, how beautiful is that together and super funky for fall. So what we're gonna do is heighten the arrangement with the use of this bougainvillea to create that line. And any bad little pieces you see, you just remove, and they almost sound like craft paper when you take them out. Okay, and then I'm gonna put one to cascade low and start that diagonal. Now I have a ton of these faux birch branches, and I like to use faux every once in a while depending on the timing of the season. So if it were a little bit later on in the fall, I wouldn't have to use faux, but because it's just at the start, I'm gonna make sure I'm getting that really rich rust color that I talked about using, and it really plays off this fuchsia really well. So I'm just gonna add this in to help reinforce that diagonal and give a little bit of a fall hue to this fuchsia. So clustering the faux branches together will also enhance the color a little bit. We have some color blocks with the hydrangea in that antique burgundy green, as well as the fuchsia bougainvillea. So we want to make sure that we're playing off that a little bit with our faux birch leaves. Now we're gonna add these amazing sycamore branches. In the park right next to our studio, we have the most brilliant sycamore tree. And right now they're coming in as very light green, and I know in about a month they're gonna be this beautiful golden yellow. And I love too that they have this antiqued brown as well. It really gives a lot of texture and also just makes it look more natural in your piece. So if you have a beautiful tree by your place, make sure that you just cut a little bit from it and add it to your arrangements. Make it really unique and special. So now we're gonna add some beautiful pastel pink roses, which I know is super interesting for fall, but mixed with these colors of rust and fuchsia and that golden green, it's just really gonna pop and be very different. Then we're gonna add the rest of our chrysanthemums to make it much more fall in the end. When I add each rose in a diagonal fashion, I'm gonna make sure I'm hitting the foam but also going at very different heights throughout. I don't want to make it so that the arrangement's really flat. So you can hardly see me with this big arrangement, but I keep adding these roses more on the front side when someone were to walk in the door of an entryway. But so you can see I'm starting to create a cascade and all different lengths and heights of these roses. I also want you to note that I'm leaving the guard petals on. Those are the outer petals of the rose. And in the fall, I like to keep those on there because it makes it a little bit more antique looking. Not as crisp like spring. It's a little bit more aged, a little bit more of the season. So now we're gonna use our chrysanthemums, and they come in these funny little hats. That's what my mother calls them, they're hats. So we're gonna remove their hats in a very strategic fashion. Literally, you go like that, and then they kind of just open up over time. Look at that beautiful rust color. I am so obsessed with it. So what we're gonna do is add them adjacent to our roses throughout the entire piece. But we want to make sure we're not blocking this bougainvillea because I feel like it's starting to get faded a little bit. So as I design, I'm going to make sure I clump them to make a lot more impact with this rust color throughout the piece. So chrysanthemums have a negative connotation sometimes. They are a little bit overused in the industry for a while, and also they're more inexpensive, so people have a tendency to kind of disregard them. However, they are absolutely gorgeous and they look similar to a dahlia. So I like to encourage people to think about all the different varieties that are out there and how to use them to make them a little bit more luxe within your arrangements. I feel like we are coming back to some of those older, more popular blooms, and this is just one of those examples of something really beautiful and unique that you can use, but really is affordable. The last thing that we're gonna add are these amazing dahlias. Such a favorite by everybody, and they're going to complement those chrysanthemums perfectly. So let's add these on in. I am going to follow the color. So in the center of the piece, there is more pink. So I'm gonna add these super blushy dahlias to the pink center of my arrangement. But I want to make sure that I'm not covering up that bougainvillea from the get-go. So I've kept with that blush pink center, and now I'm going to add the ready orange to the outsides on either side to complement where I put all of the chrysanthemums mostly. So dahlias they love the heat to grow. They like sunny locations, but what's funny is that when you cut them from your cutting garden, or just to use an arrangement when they're cut already, you need to make sure that they have a lot of hydration. I don't love even just having them on the table here, because the heat and without water, it really gets to them and they don't live as long. So even though they bloom kind of at the end of summer, beginning of fall, throughout the summer months, they don't like to be cut off their stem without water. So make sure they're super hydrated, kind of like that hydrangea in the beginning, as well as the bougainvillea. Everybody in this arrangement loves their H2O. Okay, everyone, we have this absolutely obnoxiously gorgeous arrangement. It's as tall as I am on the table, but it's perfect for any entryway. I absolutely encourage you to mix up the color palette. Put in some blush in your fall arrangements, put some gold and some greens, and really make it interesting. So this piece will be perfect for any entryway in the home, or it could be a very spectacular centerpiece for any type of celebration that you have coming up. Enjoy your autumn season, and thank you for listening.